What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? New show alert. You guys asked me if I was going to review it. I said, hey, I watched the first episode and I will let you know. So listen, we are here to review Our Kind of People, season 1, episode 1. Executive produced by Lee Daniels. So let's get into it. First of all, overall, let me say I really enjoyed it. I'm glad. On one hand, I feel like they was rushing. A lot of stuff happened and looked like 24, 48 hours. But then the flip side is I like the fact that they did not drag out the obvious storyline. We're going to get into it, but let's talk about it. The show started off, as soon as it started off, it was very reminiscent to me of the movie Inkwell. If you guys are familiar, if y'all in my age group, y'all know the Inkwell, Lorenz Tage, young Jada Pinkett, Vanessa Bell Calloway, Joe Morton, okay? And we learn about Martha's Vineyard, which is the place where the elite go to summer, okay? White folk got the Hamptons, black folk got Martha's Vineyard, all right? And so we see Angela, her daughter, and her auntie, played by my girl, Debbie Morgan. I absolutely love Debbie Morgan. We go all the way back to All My Children, Jesse and Angie, honey. If you know, you know. Angela, Vaughn, her daughter Nikki Vaughn, and then again, like I said, the auntie. We see them on their way. Come to find out, the mama has passed away, and she left them the deed to this boarding house down to the vineyard that nobody knew about, right? Didn't know they owned this building all these years. Her mother started off as a maid, started doing hair to the movers and shakers on the island, and what we find out is they're going back to just reclaim it, like check it out and see what it was. And so they stop along the beach and they talk about, we found out that this was Nikki. Nikki is 17. Now, Angie is played by Yaya. If y'all don't know Yaya came from America's Next Top Model. She's done all sorts of acting. I think she played Whitney in one of them Whitney movies, child. It's been 500 of them. Now, I don't know if I'm buying her having a 17-year-old daughter, but I'm going to let that, because at first I thought they were sisters. But when we found out that was her daughter, I was like, okay. We found out that the daughter had a little situation back in Boston, which is where they're originally from. Where they live. Her daughter, got kicked out of school and caught a case. I believe it was a DUI or something like that, smoking weed. So this is a fresh start for everybody. We've also found out that Angela is obsessed with getting in good with the elite on the island. The organization called the Gracities, right? It's like the female elite. And then we found out that the male version, we calling them the kingship. I'm not going to dig too deep into that, but let's just be clear. There are real organizations within the black elite community that exist that this is sort of mimicking. I ain't going to go that deep, okay? Okay. And we just found out that she is, she wants her daughter to get in Jack and Jill. And she's like, listen, this is how we build generational wealth. This is how we're going to, create a better life for us, for me, for you. The auntie seemed to be like that ride or die. You know what I mean? She sounded like she was a wild child and she's a ride or die. The daughter, she was up and down for me. Like, I was there for her, but then there was a couple of times where I was like, ooh, girl. Okay, I see now, you was catching cases and stuff. Okay. But then we meet Layla Franklin and her husband and their 2 kids. Now, the Franklins and the DuPonts seem to be the 2 families that are running everything over on this island. And Layla was a Franklin and she married a DuPont, right? That is Morris Chestnut's character, okay? Now, we see them getting off their private jet, landing on the island for their summer, for their summer vacation, honey. And she is taking over the Gracities from her mother-in-law, who's Morris Chestnut's mom. And she's very much about, this is, about appearances, about her being appropriate, about her being, handling her business, okay? And we find out that her and her husband have been having some marital problems and that they're taking the summer on top of everything else going on. They hoping that the summer is going to help them get back on track. Now, we don't get a whole lot more information about that throughout this episode, but I'm sure as the season goes on, we're going to dig deeper. Somebody probably cheated, but we'll get there, honey. The daughter is very much, the millennials, very Instagram, very all about appearances and so forth. The son, yeah, spoiled rich kid kind of situation. I don't have a good read on the son yet. I ain't good read on the son. We find out that Angela's mama was keeping some secrets. We find out that her daddy, who she never met, was somebody on this island. And he was married. We find, we get a flashback scene of her mom when she was a kid, getting her ready to meet her father, and she was telling her he's, coming to us and we're going to live happily ever after, and then he shows up, and he basically shows up to offer her money to buy her off. And she was like, you've had me keeping this a secret all this time, and you come here with money. And she was like, you better get out of here before I knock your head off. And we see baby Angela, I mean, she like maybe I was about 6 or 7, chasing after him, saying daddy, daddy, daddy. But he keeps walking, closes the door in her face, and of course her heart is broken. Mom's heart is broken, and that's pretty much when they left the island. We also found out that her mom's legacy is her hair. Her being of hair care. She created this natural conditioner that Angela is building her business on. She does hair. She looks like she's good at it, and that's kind of where the business is. We also sort of get some glimpses that Angela is a little bit of a hustler. Some comments were made about her always, not hustler like illegally, but always gotta hustle. Always gotta hustle. Robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of situation. Now, that night, there's a gala that's kicking off summer, and Layla is hosting it as the incoming president of the Gracities. She is hosting it, and Yaya actually ends up getting, well, I say Yaya, Angela ends up getting an invitation to the party with her daughters through a friend of theirs. Now, we don't know how Angela knows this woman, but they seem to be really good friends, okay? And so they're all at the party having a good time, and we see Mr. Lance Gross over to the side. I ain't catch his name on the show, but it's Lance Gross, child. And he is over to the side, honey. And he is eyeing Angela, and Angela is eyeing him, baby. And they have a little flirty moment, a little flirtation moment towards the end of the evening. But Angela says, hey, I want to meet the host and hostess. And her friend tells her, girl, you might be moving a little too fast. Like, chill out. Kind of mix and mingle. Be seen, but don't be seen too much. She said, I'm ready to, I got to meet the host. Like, I'm ready to meet the host. Again, we see her being very pushy about trying to get in. So she goes over and introduces herself to Layla, and they have that, cold exchange, very fake. Layla immediately, I think, sees her coming like, oh, girl, you are trying way too hard, and you do not belong here. Like, that's the whole air she has. We found out that she's applied for a program through the DuPont Foundation, and Morse Chestnut is over that, and he says, listen, you sound like you're very passionate about your business, and if you are, you sound like a pretty good candidate for that loan. And she was like, yeah, I absolutely, that would be a great, help for me to get my business where I want it to be, and, I look forward to it. So then she tries to make a donation, because this is all about, Layla asked about her husband. She said, well, I'm not married, but I do have a 17-year-old daughter, and I understand that the proceeds from tonight are going to go towards, a single mother's charity or something. And so she tries to hand a check to Layla. Baby, Layla look at her like, girl, first of all, I think the check was for like $125. Now, at that kind of party, you better add a couple of zeros to that check, ma'am. And Layla looked at her and looked at that check as if it was on fire. Like, how dare you? She said the donation box is in the front. I said, ooh. Now, while all of this is going on, Nikki has run into the churn, the son and daughter I'd already told y'all about, and their friend. Now, their friend's name is Taylor. Now, of course, the son is flirting with Nikki a little bit. She was ordering club soda. He says, why don't you get you a vodka, honey? That's the only way you're going to get through this kind of party. And the daughter shows up wanting to take some Jack and Jill pictures and totally ignores Nikki, acts like she's not even there. Taylor introduces herself and says, hey, we're going to be hanging out tomorrow night. Why don't you come with us? Why don't you come party with us? And at first Nikki was like, girl, nah, I'm good. And she even throws a little jab at the daughter because she was like, I see that, manners aren't taught here in the sunken place. And so, of course, Taylor was like, ooh, she got a little bit of spunk. Girl, we'll see you tomorrow night down on the docks, okay? That's where we're going to be partying. You need to make sure you in the place, all right? So the night ends, like I said, the night ends with Angela with a little flirty with Lance Gross's character, okay? And so the next day we see her, doing it like a little Instagram live or a YouTube video where she's doing sort of a get ready with me, talking about this is the conditioner I'm using. So we see that she does the social media thing, and then we get another flashback where her mother teaching her how to make this conditioner and saying, this is gonna be our legacy. Like, this is what I'm leaving you. Then we have this very interesting boardroom scene with Joe Morton. Now, listen, y'all know I love me some Joe Morton. It's taking me right back to my Papa Joe days, my Papa down to the scandal, because he gave a whole scandal speech, honey. It took me right back to the moments. We see Layla come in, and her father is the CEO of, Franklin DuPont Industries or whatever, Franklin Industries. And what we find out is there's a whole nother side to Miss Layla, right? Layla actually cares about the little people. And she is mad at her daddy. You could definitely tell that there's some daddy-daughter issues there. She is mad at her daddy because they're getting ready to build this new stadium. And she said, baby, daddy, I have done the research. You are down there greasing palms and lying to politicians to get this done. And, that is just not how we need to be doing business. That's not the reputation that I want us to have. And so he gives her his Papa Pope speech about, this black man at the head of the table. And, do you know why this table is so big? Because it's the biggest table that I could find. And it's on an incline. You know why? Because when I sit at the head of the table, everybody will have to lift their head to look at me. And he goes off and she is looking at him like, this man crazy as hell. Like he is tripping. But he tells her, he says, listen, you let me do my dirt, and then you can, do your charity work, and you can build this community that you're trying to build. And so on one hand, we saw her at the party being very elitist and looking down her nose at Angela. But then we see her with her daddy, and it looks like she's trying to save the world, right? So it's, I don't know, she's sort of an oxymoron. Then we see Morris Chestnut roll up on his son, and we could definitely tell that they don't have a great relationship. But he invites him to a kingship meeting. He said, listen, when I was young, I grew up, and, everybody else was waiting on, they had to wait until Barack Obama to see a black man in a position of power. He said, I grew up with it all around me. And it started, with the Kingsman. And so I want you to come. I want you to come to the meeting, and I want you to see what it's all about. And we later on in the episode see them at the meeting. We see an induction ceremony of the newest members of the Kingsmen. We see that him and Papa Pope, I'm going to call him man Papa Pope, but we see him and Papa Pope are leaders of that particular chapter, right? So back at the house, we see Angela talking to her friend and her auntie, and they're sort of recapping, what happened at the party. And she was like, girl, you got to nominate me for the Gracities. And she said, girl, take it slow. Like, you moving too fast. Like, you just got here. People need to get to know you. I don't, she's just becoming president. I don't want to put too much on her plate right now. Like, chill out a little bit. She was like, girl, I need you to make that nomination. I need to get in with the Gracities. And this is, well, I'll get to that in a second. Now, while this is going on down to the house, we see Nikki going to the party, and we see her running. We see Taylor and the daughter and the son. And Taylor, when she gets there, Taylor slides her phone in Nikki's bag. Now, at first, I thought, oh, they about to set her up. Like, they invited her down there. She about to say somebody stole her phone, and they gonna set Nikki up. Like, that's what I thought was gonna happen. But we see Nikki having a good time dancing, and, we see Taylor is drunk. She uses her lipstick to write across one of the pictures, lies. It was a family picture. And I was like, oh, Taylor, what is going on here? Okay. And Later on in the evening, we see the daughter is screaming and hollering looking for Taylor. Honey, Taylor done fell off the yacht or jumped. Okay? I don't think that's the last we're going to see of Taylor, but that's another conversation for another day. Taylor, honey, done went off the deep end. They can't find her. They got to call the police. Now, while that's going on, Lance Gross then invited Angela to another party. He sent her a pair of Louboutins, honey, to wear to the party. So she goes to the party, and he immediately looks at her feet, and she was like, I can buy my own shoes. I said, I know that's right. Keep the shoes, but you ain't got to wear them, okay? And so, you know, they sort of get to know each other. He says, listen, you know, I grew up on this island. My family, you know, we lived down the street in the small house, you know. My dad worked for a man who put me through boarding school, sent me to Ivy League, and now I own my own construction company. So, like, he's letting her know, listen, I had humble beginnings down to the island, but I'm kind of a mover and shaker. And then we see them sort of kiss or whatever. Now, what I find interesting is, allegedly, Angela has been celibate since she had the daughter at 17 years ago, but you was quick to be kissing all over Lance Gross down to the party. I was like, okay, that was kind of quick. But while they kissing, she gets a phone call from Nikki telling her to get down to the yacht. The police are down there wanting to question everybody. Now, Nikki then told the policeman that the last person that was with Taylor was the daughter. Now, the daughter is like, that's not true. She is lying on me. I don't know nothing about. I didn't see Taylor. I wasn't with her. And so now the police want to question both of them. She was like, the daughter told me something, look, she's drunk. Angela was like, my daughter doesn't drink. She was like, smell her breath. Lord, come to find out the daughter had been taking shots of Ciroc and some more stuff. So the police almost would get ready to, take all of their asses in for real. But both of them put their foot down and was like, you ain't taking my child in for questioning. If she ain't going, my child ain't going. And that's when we find out that, she almost went to jail for, underage for possession of something, child. She caught a case. So Angela tells her, girl, you are grounded, okay? Because ain't nobody got time for all of this. You grounded, all right? And Nikki sort of throws it back at her like, listen, you want this, I don't. Ain't nobody asked to come here. Ain't nobody asked to try to hang out with these rich black people and try to impress them. This is what you want. So, like, don't be tripping off on me because I ain't asked for all of this. Now, I feel like I missed something. But anyway, I'm sure it'll come to me. So the next day we are at the meeting of the Graceties. And Angela's there. She done brought Nikki with her. And come to find out, she did, her friend did nominate her for membership. Now, here's where I said some of this stuff. First of all, I think all of this is moving way too fast. Like, so much has happened in 48 hours. But what I found interesting was the night before, her friend was like, girl, I can't nominate you. I can't nominate you. It's too soon. But then we find out that part of the qualifications is that everybody who's been nominated has already had an interview, and they won't make a final decision about new membership until the end of the summer at this final ball. And I'm like, well, when did her ass do an interview if the night before she was saying, please nominate me? Like, I don't see where there's any time lapse. So I feel like some of this stuff, I feel like they were kind of rushing. Okay. But it is what it is. It is what it is. We got a lot in with this first episode. A lot happened in this first episode. But we also find out that neither Layla nor Layla's mother-in-law is feeling Miss Angela. And she even lied a little bit when they asked her about her mother. And she said, well, my mother was a business owner on this island. She used to vacation here in the summer, and she was a business owner. She ain't said, and of course, immediately Nikki gave her the side eye like, girl, grandmama was a maid. Grandma was a maid up in this up here. And of course, there are people on the island who gonna remember who her mama really was. Okay. But we see Yaya talking to the auntie about it, talking to her aunt about it. And, she said, Nikki felt some kind of way about me lying, but she don't understand what I'm really trying to do here. Like, I need them to see past that, because I'm trying to get accepted by this crew. Nikki came downstairs and was like, so you down here getting lit, but you got mad at me for taking a couple of shots. She was like, cause I'm grown. Like, It's not illegal for me to take shots of nothing. Okay? I'm the mama, you the daddy. I mean, you the daughter. And there's a mother-daughter fashion show the next day. And so she asked Nikki to go to the fashion show. Nikki was like, child, I'm grounded. I guess I don't have much of a choice. I mean, it is what it is. Now, I keep saying Yaya. Angela had offered to do the glam for this fashion show, but Layla had put her ass on snacks, okay? But when they get to the fashion show the next day, the person that was supposed to do glam had bailed. And Angela ended up doing all of the wigs and the makeup. And of course, she slayed it because she's good at what she does. And that's what she's building her empire on, her hair care, right? And everything went well until the oh, I'm sorry. Let me rewind. Ooh, something really important I almost missed. The daughter that night, the night before the fashion show, the daughter had found Taylor's phone in her bag. She was like, what is this? Now, here's another unrealistic thing. Okay, let me be honest with y'all. Well, no, I shouldn't say that because I think Taylor wanted her to find it. But I was going to say, I don't know anybody that don't have some sort of password on their phone. But Taylor might have taken all of that off so that the girl will be able to get in her phone. But she did. She got in the phone, and baby, what she had found out was that Taylor and the daughter was having a whole lot of affair. And Taylor she said, there was a video in there of the two of them together kissing, laying down on the floor. And we see Taylor said, listen, your mother thinks I'm the bad influence. You really need to clear that up. And the daughter saying, I'll tell her, I'll tell my mom. Girl, she wasn't going to tell her nothing. And so I feel like Taylor was feeling some kind of way about it. So before the fashion show gets started, the mama-in-law goes to Layla and says, listen, girl, that Angela girl is bad news, okay? She is not who she says she is, and here's the proof in the pudding. And she hands her an envelope. She said, you need to neutralize her, and you need to neutralize her now, or do I need to call your daddy? I said, oh, here we go. So the fashion show is over, and Nikki goes to confront the daughter. Now, I don't know, Nikki. I think I would have held on to that information, and I don't think I would have showed my hand. But Nikki let the daughter know that she had the information, and she showed her the tape. She was like, where'd you get that from? She said, I don't know. Taylor must have slipped her phone in my bag. But, girl, it's okay. And I feel like she was kind of letting her know that maybe she gay, too. I don't know. Let me know if I caught that right. But the daughter was like, girl, ain't nobody around here walking around with pronouns on their chest. Like, that is not how we do things here. Taylor knew the deal. So I'm going to need you to keep all of that to yourself. And then she proceeds to throw a tantrum and, act like Nikki is bothering her and threatening her. So, of course, her mother come running in talking about see, I knew y'all were bad luck. I knew y'all were, this was a bad idea. Y'all are in here threatening my daughter. You are no good. And Angela was like, girl, what you talking about? Like, you're not going to turn this around on me and my daughter. Like, my daughter ain't bothering your daughter. Like, what's going on here? And that is when Layla unleashes all of the evidence that she has in front of everybody. And, of course, immediately Angela's like, so that's what we're doing? You about to, like, embarrass me in front of everybody? You about to tell everybody my business? And so she exposed who her mother really was, that her mother was a maid. Her mother wasn't a business owner vacationing on the island. But she also said, and the reason why your mother left the island is because she caught a charge down at that salon for, possession of illegal substance and intent to distribute. And of course, you could see it all over Angela's face that she is shocked. She ain't never seen that before. They showed her her mama's mugshot and everything. And she is like, this just can't be real. Like, this can't be true. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So, of course, she's in tears and she's totally humiliated. She's standing there with that daggone mugshot, honey. So the next day, she is getting her friend is helping her get as much information on her mother. She got the files from the police station, all of that. And she says, like, I know my mother, and even her aunt was like, girl, your mama didn't touch drugs. Like, she threatened to, disown me when I was dating a drug dealer back in the 80s. Like, this is not your mother. Your mother wouldn't do this. And so they're going through the files. Now, while that's going on, Layla done went back down to the boardroom. She done destroyed her daddy's table that he was so proud of. And she told him, she said, listen, I tore a black woman down today. And that's just not even my style. Like I don't, I didn't even like it. I didn't like how it felt, you know. But what it did make me realize is it's time for you to retire. So effective immediately, I'm taking over as CEO of Franklin Industries and you Franklin Holdings, and you are going to retire. And he was like, girl, what make you think I'm gonna do that? She said, because I got all this dirt on you, and if you force me to, I'm gonna take it to the feds. So I suggest that you just walk away quietly and let me take over, and then that way I can do what I want to do and I can run the business how I want to run the business. Um, and he told her, he said, listen, I'm gonna go ahead and give you that tonight, but understand I'm better at this than you are. So I'll be back. Back down to Angela's house, they end up finding the videotape of her mother's arrest. Her mother down in at the police station, and there's a videotape, and the guy that comes in there that's talking to her, she says, Teddy, tell them I didn't do anything. And he ends up unplugging the video, so that's the last we see of the video. But we see him from the back of his head, which is all that Angela saw of her daddy was the back of his head. And she said, Teddy Franklin is my dad, aka Layla's daddy. Now, I saw that storyline coming in the first 10 minutes of the episode. And so that's what I was saying, that I'm glad they didn't drag that part of the storyline out. But I still feel like they're rushing some of the other stuff that they, don't need to be rushing. So we see Angela have a flashback of her chasing after her daddy again. And she did actually chase him outside, and she saw the back of his head, and she saw him, and she was yelling, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. And we saw him get in the car, and there was a little girl in the back seat saying, Daddy, who's that little girl? And him saying, nobody you need to be concerned with. I said, oh, that's baby Layla. So in the final scene of the episode, we see Layla go to the house to go pick up her wig. Before that, though, Layla tells her husband, a.k.a. Morris Chestnut, that she is now the CEO of the company, that her daddy is retiring. Surprise, surprise. Now, the look on his face tells me he ain't happy about that. And I'm sure there's more to that story. We're going to probably find out that he was in cahoots with her daddy and doing the dirt. But we're going to get to that at a later episode. And we find out that Angela came to pick up her wig from the fashion show. So Layla goes in the house and she says, I heard you wanted to come and pick up this wig personally. And she was like, yeah, I don't have a lot of money to waste. These wigs were expensive. And they sort of have like this little showdown, this little back and forth. And I feel like she didn't apologize for what she did, but I feel like she acknowledged that what she did wasn't probably the best way to handle the situation. But she was clear to, let Angela know that she's not wanted. Like, we don't want you here. And Angela was like, well, we seem to be two sides of the same coin. And she was like, oh, really? I don't see that. And I was like, because she know that you her sister. You don't know that's her sister, that's your sister, but she know that that's your sister. And I feel like your mother-in-law know, and that's why your mother-in-law is telling you to get rid of her ass as soon as possible, okay? And then, later on that night, we see her with the wig, and she's able to find some real hair, which I'm concerned that that's even her real hair. Like, is that her weave? Anyway, and of course, she's going to get the DNA tested to prove that that's really her half sister. So anyway, y'all, that was the first episode. It was a lot with it. I thought it was pretty good. Y'all let me know what y'all think. We'll drop it in them comments. Peace.